potentially armed supporters of yours into the Capitol while the Congress was there, and they did what they were there to do, what kind of power did you think you would hold? What way did you think you would benefit from that? What did you think would be happening now, 5 days out? Mr. President, if you incite an angry mob to go attack the U.S. Capitol while Congress is sitting, you get them to go attack the Capitol because you tell them that if they go to the Capitol, they will be able to accomplish somehow keeping you in power and stopping election results from being processed. Mr. President, if you do that, you will face calls to be removed from office as unfit to serve under the 25th Amendment. You will also invite certain impeachment and potentially conviction and removal from office. As the first U.S. president to ever go through that. Mr. President, you will invite the invocation of the 14th Amendment to ban you from ever holding public office again in the United States, like the Confederate traitors before you, for whom that provision of the 14th Amendment was written. And yes, Mr. President, you may, in fact, invite criminal charges in Washington, D.C., and you may invite criminal charges at the federal level for inciting a violent attack against the U.S. government, which would put you in prison for decades. All of this can be yours for the low, low price of what you did after you lost the election to Joe Biden. What did you think would happen? Did you think it would work? Did you think you'd hold power with the support of a private army with their hockey sticks and their AR-15s? Maybe the military would flip, become your Praetorian Guard? Is that what you thought would happen? Tonight, more of the cost of the president's actions is becoming known. As the House started to debate the 25th Amendment resolution tonight, Congresswoman Mary Gay Scanlon of Pennsylvania described more that we had not previously known about what the Trump mob did when they launched this attack.
They were here to take the law into their own hands, to disrupt Congress as it counted the Electoral College votes, and to overturn the lawful election of Joseph Biden as our 46th president. As violent invaders broke windows and rammed doors, they chanted that they wanted to hang the vice president and kidnap the Speaker of the House, and they brought the tools to do it. They beat one police officer to death, tased others, and tried to shoot one with his own gun. Another officer will likely lose an eye. Scores of others suffered head injuries when they were beaten with pipes. Blood was spilled on the marble floor just outside this room.
Some of these details were not known before Congresswoman Scanlon described them on the House floor tonight. Police officers beaten over the head with pipes, one officer who will lose an eye, some officers who were shot with tasers, one officer who was shot at with his own gun. We didn't know those details before the Congresswoman disclosed them tonight on the floor. And those revelations come as members of the House, Democratic members of the House last night, Republican members of the House today, members of the Senate this afternoon, started getting safety briefings about what the president's supporters are planning in terms of attacking the inauguration next week. Huffington Post was first to report on the police briefings to lawmakers, saying in part that the lawmakers were told about one demonstration, which 3 members said was by far the most concerning plot, that would involve insurrectionists forming a perimeter around the Capitol, the White House, and the Supreme Court, and then blocking Democrats from entering the Capitol, perhaps even killing them, so that Republicans could take control of the government. House Democrats were given that security briefing by police yesterday. House Republicans and senators were briefed today. NBC News now reports that part of the briefing all the members have received is a reminder that each member of Congress is allowed to use congressional funds to pay for expenses incurred to physically protect that member of Congress. Specifically, all members of Congress are now being advised that if they purchase a bulletproof vest, that will be viewed as a reimbursable expense for that member's office. It's getting a lot of conservative judges confirmed. Worth it? You okay with how this is all working out in the end? 3 Democratic members of Congress have now tested positive for COVID-19 after being confined in the same room for hours after they hid from the Trump mob. alongside Republican members of Congress who refused their requests, even in that room, to put on masks. Congressman Brad Schneider of Illinois, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal of Washington, who's the chair of the Progressive Caucus, Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman, who's 75 years old and has just survived a serious bout with cancer. She now has COVID. All three of them now have COVID after being confined in the same room with maskless Republicans during the Capitol siege. A senior Republican staffer on the House Armed Services Committee today resigned with a statement that excoriated the Republican members of the House who encouraged the rioters and who voted to promote and endorse Trump's lies about the election. The communications director for Senator Ted Cruz resigned today as well, as more and more Democrats, at least in the Senate, have called for both Senator Cruz and Senator Josh Hawley to either resign from the Senate or be expelled from the Senate for their central and now unrepentant role in promoting and encouraging these conspiratorial lies about the election result. We don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know what's going to happen next even tonight. But Republican members of Congress tonight are reportedly refusing to go through the new metal detector that has been installed outside the House floor. That includes one new Republican member who has promised to carry a gun with her at her new job at the Capitol. So that's happening tonight. It's a live question tonight as to whether Republican members of Congress who openly supported those who attacked the Capitol might themselves have brought guns onto the House floor tonight as the House gathers to vote on this 25th Amendment resolution. It's a live question tonight as to whether the conviction of President Trump might actually happen in the U.S. Senate, either by 12.5 Republicans voting with Democrats to convict him, or just 5 or 6 Republican senators voting to convict, and another 20 or so Republicans just agreeing to stay home and not take part in the vote. All live questions tonight. What's really not a live question tonight, but is instead live motion that we are watching tonight and tomorrow. We are watching it happen as history before our very eyes, is that this president is about to be the first one ever impeached twice. It was on the precipice of impeachment like this, facing certain impeachment in the House and probable removal in the Senate, that Republicans in August 1974 marched up to the White House and told President Richard Nixon that his time on the stage was up. And Nixon resigned. And wouldn't you know it, his vice president saw fit to immediately then pardon him for his crimes after that resignation, and so Nixon never set foot in prison. I don't know if this breed of Republicans that we have now is going to do that for President Trump. I don't know if they'd see him or listen to him if they did. But if I were Trump, I'd resign tonight. I'd resign tonight because if I were Trump, I think I'd be terrified of the consequences of what I have done in the past week. I'd be terrified of going to prison, and I would want that pardon, and I'd be damn sure that Mike Pence would give it to me in exchange for my resignation. That's what I'd do if I were him. But Lord knows what he'll do. Anything remains possible, and he's still president. Lots to get to tonight. Stay with us.